Welcome to Vintage Gaming Memories. Shall we play a game?
So far today, the high temperature has been 84 degrees. The normal high is 81.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I have a vintage item that you all might be very familiar with, or maybe your parents back in the early 80s, or maybe even early 70s. This was a way to get the latest weather forecasts in your area, probably around 20 to 25 miles within that vicinity. Now, they made a number of these for many years, going back from the early 70s through the late 80s. So it's not hard to find, nor is it expensive to get one of these today. And this one in particular was noted to be in working condition, and it also looked pretty good as far as the pictures go. So let's check this out. Well, here it is. So this is a 1982 weather radio by Realistic called the Weather Radio Cube, model 12-181. Now, you may already know that the name brand Realistic is actually RadioShack, just like Tandy, and that's another reason why many of these were produced and available in the stores and also in the catalog. But what is this really? You know it's a weather radio just by the name, but if you think about it, back in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have our smartphones or smart devices that would tell us if severe weather was approaching at the exact location we were at based on GPS. There was no Alexa or anything like that. So this little radio cube, as it's called, would give you a repeatable forecast in a somewhat nearby location that you were located, roughly 20 to 25 miles around. And it was all based on the frequency that you were dialed into. Now, here in North America, those frequencies are provided by NOAA, NOAA, that acronym stands for National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And I can also get this weather information on my Baofeng, right here. It's the UV5R model that I have. I can get that on frequency 162.550. And this is pretty cool. I should do a video on one of these. This is not vintage. It's a radio that's very useful for certain situations. So let's take a look at this design. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's a cube, and it measures 3 inches all around. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a cube now if it wasn't all equal on all sides, right? If we look at the top here, you have a speaker. Also, to the top right corner, you have a telescopic antenna. Let's see how long this thing goes up. I think that would be it. You can't see it, but I'll tell you what it measures right here. It measures exactly 16 inches. So that is the antenna. Nice and straight. So you have the antenna, the speaker, and then you have this touch bar that actually just turns on the radio when you press down on it. So apparently this was shipped with the battery. I should have checked that first, but again, not a big deal. I got it pretty quickly, so the battery's already installed. Nice to know. Anyways, as we continue to look at this, it has the faux wood finish. Actually, it says here it's a simulated walnut grain finish. And it's all around the sides. And then on the bottom, you've got some controls and adjustments you can make. To the far right, you have your volume. The knob, it goes left and right. And I think that wasn't full max, and that was still pretty loud. Let's put it just a little bit past, we'll put it around halfway. There's a little indicator there as well, so you know where you're at on the dial. Below that, you have the frequency. You can adjust between 162.4 to 162.55. And as you can tell, when I press this down, which turns it on, there was nothing coming through because it needs to be adjusted with my location I'm at. So we'll do that in a little bit. And then to the far left here, we have the battery compartment, which opens up. You'll see that it takes one 9-volt battery. And this looks like in good condition, really good. And it looks like probably a brand new 9-volt Amazon battery. So before we try to tune this in, I already know it works. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, make this look a little bit nicer. You can see it's a little bit dusty, or there's some kind of discoloration on the top of the speaker here. we'll just wipe it down and try to see if we can polish it up a little bit, and then we'll come right back. Well, I wiped it down and I even polished it. I know you're probably laughing at me because why would I polish plastic? It doesn't hurt. And the faux wood actually came out pretty good. There's a little bit of a shine. You can see, there you go, a little glare to it. Even the plastic chrome kind of has a little bit of a bling. Polishing a 3x3x3 cube is not taking me that much time. I also polished the antenna, so that looks nice. Why not, right? Because it's going to go on my shelf and I'd probably sit there for quite some time. The bottom here, I guess I didn't show you that with the battery removed. It has the 9-volt battery recommendation, RadioShack, and their part number. Speaking about battery, let's test the battery that was included. I'm sure it's still good. Well, there you go, 12-20-28. So it's probably still good, of course, but let's just test it out. Not that I'm going to leave it in my radio. I don't know if you can see what it reads. Yep, looks pretty good to me. 9.61 for a 9-volt battery. All right, let's put this back together. I should mention that this retailed for around $15 to $18 back in the 70s and 80s. So if you were to adjust for inflation, in today's dollar, it would be around $50 if you pay that amount in the early 80s to around $100 if it were for the early 70s. So not really cheap back then. So before I put the 9-volt battery in here, let me show you what it looks like underneath this cover here. And let me just pull these knobs off. Okay. That's the volume. I don't want to break it. It's plastic, so I got to be kind of careful. All right. And then that is the tuning knob. And then this cardboard should come off pretty easy. Just don't want to wreck it. There we go.
You're talking about me.
Okay. Oh, look at that. Little schematic. Did not know that was on the other side. Pretty cool. Pretty simple to remove this. You only have 4 screws on each of the corners, and then that should allow you to pop this out. And then this is the antenna screw. I don't think I'm going to open it up any further because I haven't even tried this out. Well, I did try it out. I just haven't tuned it in. So we'll give this all a shot here in a second. So I lied. I had to take this apart. I did remove, there's 5 screws, 1 for the antenna, and then 4 that's actually on the PCB, which are right there. And now we'll just pull this thing out slowly. So let's take a look at the other side now that we have this open. You can get a good view of how this works. At least this bar, how it actually presses down on this switch to turn it on and off. Of course, you can see a lot of capacitors, resistors, even a coil, a transformer, a transistor as well, and the speaker right above there. But what I really wanted to do, because I opened this up, wasn't really to look at all that, although it's kind of cool to see. I wanted to go ahead and spray out the volume pot, which would be this one here. This potentiometer is probably, yeah, it looks pretty dusty. I might as well work it in a little bit with my deoxit. And that's what I'll do right now. Spray that in and work it a little bit, and then put this back together again. And then we'll test it out, and hopefully I can tune into a station. What I like about this deoxit is that you have your levels low, medium, or high as far as the adjustment on the spray. I don't need high for this, definitely low. Back and forth with the wiper motion here, working it in. Let's see how this sounds here. Nice and smooth. All right, that's what I wanted to hear. Nice and smooth as I changed my volume up and down. So let's put this all back together again. Actually, I might as well clean this out since I do have it open. It's a little bit dusty inside. And then we'll button it up real quick. Well, I have everything screwed back together again. The battery's in it. Let's pull the antenna up a little bit and turn this thing on. I think the volume is down. All you do is press the bar. Yeah, the volume's pretty low. Let me put the volume up and try to tune into the right frequency here. Oh, I got something. Let's see.
Total at 0.41 inches. This is 1.55 inches below the normal amount of 1.96 inches for June. The total precipitation for the year still stands at 22.45 inches, which is 2.16 inches above normal. The total snowfall since July 1st still stands at 8.2 inches.
So, same as hearing it on here.
And the record low is 45, which occurred in 1903. Sunset tonight is at 13:18 p.m.
It works.
Sunrise tomorrow is
I mean, granted, the static, I think it's my reception. You have to understand, though, too, this is from the 70s, 80s, whereas this is more modern. I'm sure my reception is going to be a lot better, even in this dungeon or panic room, you can call it, a workshop. But it does work. Let's see if we can get one last try here. There we go.
For Saturday and Saturday night. Mostly clear. Highs in the mid-80s. Lows in the mid-60s.
Well, what I think is pretty cool about this is that this is still useful in today's world, 40, 50 years later. I mean, yeah, it's not something you're going to put on your desk, and it's not something practical that you'd rely upon because everybody's got a smart device. But what it gets and what it receives that's being transmitted from NOAA is actually the same as, like I said, with the Baofeng. And it's a weather radio, so you'll get more information than you did back in the day if you had this because of what NOAA is transmitting. You have precipitation, you've got wind, you've got temperature forecasts in the next 3 to 5 days, I believe. It also tells you more information about any severe weather that's coming your way. And there's more predictability and more statistics that you'll get out of this today. And again, it's not because of this device, but it's because of what's being transmitted to it through that frequency that you're dialed into. So I think it's a pretty cool thing that still works today. Not something you probably will use, but it is pretty neat. It's Realistic Weatheradio, otherwise known by RadioShack, model number 12181, and 1982 model. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know your experience with this. If you ever seen this, had this, maybe even want one of these. Like I said, you can get something like this pretty cheap on eBay. And once again, remember, keep that gaming passion from the past alive by living it today. Take care, everyone.